Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hi, everybody. It's me. I'm so happy to be back and seeing lovely Lady B's face again, and hopefully get a chance to talk to you during our show today. We have coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk to Ben Cominos in Wisconsin to find out what's going up there, including the meteorologist who was fired from the CBS outlet in Milwaukee. Our sponsor, Kirk Banks, has taken out a billboard right by the station in order to express his disgust and dismay with them complying and bending the knee ahead of the fascism that's coming towards us. We'll talk to Dr. Jason Bissell, talk a little bit about self-care and using acupuncture and other ways of making sure that you're healthy through these very stressful times. And we'll have the similar conversation with our good friend Jen Zanotti, who is going to join us to talk about how not to basically react to every single news story. And with that, I want to say that's part of the reason why I decided I was going to travel the week of the inauguration, because this is going to be not just the next few weeks, months, 4 years to come. This is beyond. This is a Herculean task for so many of us who are invested in our neighbors, in our community, in humanity. And I decided that I needed to take the first week to sort of figure out what my pace is going to be. And if you're going to experience a snowstorm in a gorgeous city, it might as well be in New Orleans, where no person alive has seen the kind of snowfall they had on January 21st. So that was incredible. It is what it is. What are you going to do? And I had a great time, and I'm grateful to the folks that showed just so much hospitality and enthusiasm. I'll tell you something. The folks there really are not just resilient, because I did talk to some folks about the terrorist attack on New Year's Day, and my Uber driver who took me to the airport said he kind of felt like the snow was refreshing in a way, because people were out like dancing in it and building snowmen and making videos about it, and it felt like almost like a tabula rasa for them, is what he said. They get to kind of start like that. It was like their New Year's sort of baptism, I guess. And so it was a lot of fun to be in New Orleans and enjoy good food. You guys, I mean, I wish I was better at posting like social media travel tips and showing folks where I've been and recommending where you should visit. So I guess if you're going, you can message me, and I'll try to think in the days to come of ways to share some of my favorite places. But I will tell you, Clyde's Corner, it was fantastic. It's like a neighborhood dive bar. And on Friday, they had this. I wanted to go I was going to go to Felix's for grilled oysters. And the bartender said, hey, if you hold on a few minutes, usually on Fridays, this fella comes by. He runs a fresh pop-up oyster shucking company. He does both fresh oysters and char grilled. We set up a grill for him outside. You guys, I ate I don't know if it was a dozen or 2 dozen. It was a lot, because I was sharing with some folks at the bar, because it was too much for me. And it was the best oysters I've ever had in my entire life. So it was wonderful. So the moments like that, you can't actually plan for or tell people. I mean, you can find the guy Aw Shucks. He's on social media, AWSHUCKS. So if you go to New Orleans, find out where he's popping up. At any rate, what I want to say is I was talking to some folks here about why I chose to travel. I didn't intend to be gone the whole week. I was going to be back Thursday, Friday to jump back in. And I did on Thursday remotely. And because I was traveling, and it was just, I didn't also want to be too much of a burden on my hosts. And, we're on a schedule. We got to do this. We got to come back. I just wanted to relax on Friday as well. And I'm grateful to Elliot and Ken Mejia Beal for filling in last week, as well as our friend Adam Selzer. So I realized as I was talking through, sort of the wave of emotions of I wasn't immersed in what the theatrics of whether it was the inauguration day or the hundreds of executive orders or the raids that folks were terrified of, and then the stories that were spreading in Chicago. I kind of caught some of it, but I wasn't swirled up into it. It didn't consume me, and I feel like this week I can sort of start moving a little bit into figuring out what this, and the dust isn't anywhere near settled, but this is going to be days, weeks, months, and not just the years that he will be in office, but the ramifications, the tentacles of the situation that we are in are going to be, I believe, the rest of my lifetime. And I this is the best way for me to explain it. It might sound a little dark, but when I was training as a lifeguard, you do some survival skills as well. I mean, I think one of my favorite ones was where if you're in the water, like let's say a ship has capsized and you're waiting for rescue, one of the things you do is if you're wearing jeans, you tie the ankles of the jeans, both legs, and then you blow into the legs and then sort of wear that as a sort of a rescue inflatable sort of promptu, because the water saturates the denim so much that it can hold air, and you have a little flotation device. But one of the things I loved doing for as long as I could, we used to have contests at Girl Scout camp for who could do the longest dead man's float. Basically, you're just sort of limp-bodied in the water, face down, and when you need to, you sort of gently push your head, you push the water down, lift your head up to take breath, and then the intention is to not expend more energy than you need to survive. And I think I'm in that space right now. I'm sure I'll have some sprints. I'll have some doggy paddling and getting filled with adrenaline, but I need to find that sort of, okay, what am I coming up for? What am I going to attend to? When do I come up for air? Because this is going to be a lot, and it already is. And I know Jim's on the line. Let's see where Jim is emotionally. Jim, good to hear from you. Thanks for doing the wellness check with me. Jim, how you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're headed to Aruba, let us know, because I'll pack my snowshoes. I mean,
no, isn't that crazy?
It's bound to be a blizzard in Aruba, no doubt about it, if you hit town there.
Yeah.
But anyway, good to hear you back. But this was a caption this week on God Save Trump to Save America. He actually put that on his true social.
Yeah.
God save him to save America.
Yeah.
That's how nutty he is,
I agree.
Hello?
Yeah. No, I don't know if that was us or you.
Consider this.
Yeah.
He was supposed to go after illegal aliens that had outstanding warrants. Well, apparently he's picking up anybody who doesn't have papers. And he bugged an 11-year-old kid at a school, the two secret agents. They can't explain why.
Right.
The kids were scared to death. And you can imagine a kid in school, it's hard enough to go to school today without being shot down and worry about Trump's brown shirts coming in to give you a hassle at 11, 8 years old. One kid was only 8 years old. He goes, boy, I was really scared. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. The President of the United States of America. Anyway, and then he continues to fire 12 people in the Justice Department because he wants to roll back reality that he didn't do anything on January 6th. He didn't scream about winning an election that he lost. He fired them outright. These are long-standing people with good jobs and with no regard of where they're going to go or how they're going to support their families. Yeah. And it would be just the insanity. And then COVID, he wants to give the soldiers back, because he wants to roll back COVID also. Mm-hmm. He wants it to take reality, Patty, and pretend nothing happened. The only reality is in his criminal mind. That's the only reality. We're supposed to live by that for 4 years. Whatever criminally insane thing you can think of, because nobody, I mean, first of all, Patty, if I molested a woman at Bloomie's today, jumped into the dressing room with her, I'd be doing 12 years in the place if I got out of the building alive. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I'd be doing 12 years. But anyway, but apparently he doesn't get it. Then he had 12 jurors, 12 American jurors.
Yeah. Convict him.
Convicted for 34 counts. What's he trying to say? That they were all paid up by the Democratic Party?
No, only his reality matters. Yeah, you're right.
But he's trying to start a war. This guy's trying to start a war, because I guarantee you, once we get into the streets to demonstrate, if he thinks that screwball Hedgewich or one of these nuts are going to have what happened in Ohio, the 4 people who were shot dead in Ohio by Nixon and his troops. If you think we're going to stand for that, he's insane.
You mean Kent State?
He's insane. Yeah, Kent State. Yeah, if he wants a few Kent States, well, I imagine he's going to try to get them.
Jim,
he'll stop.
You know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid that America's tolerance for how disposable other human beings are in protest and in war. I don't know what it would do if he did that again. And I hate to say that. I think they want an excuse to do it. I don't know, Jim.
I would. Forget it. I don't care.
I know you would.
I was I'd be there. Forget it. I ain't going to take that. I'll be there. You'll see me for sure. But the point is, the absolute criminality of this idiot. I can't believe he's sitting away with this stuff. And then we're the deep state, and we're the enemy within.
Yep.
And he's the only one who can save us. I mean, what kind of rhetoric is that? That's from plus he's going at 80 years old.
Yep. He's ranting and raving and at the same time signing executive orders with that madness. I've got to run to the break, Jim.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Good to hear you back. Good to hear you back.
Take care. When we come back, we'll talk to Ben Cominos, the host of Outside the Box on WHBY out of Appleton. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, right here in Chicago.
Stephanie Miller.
I've gotten more mail than I've ever gotten in my entire life. Because a lot of people have a lot to share, and they can't always make it on the phone lines, or they're nervous. And trust me, whatever you're going through, me too. All of us. Wherever you are in your timeline. Drunk, sad, scared, angry. Right there with you. Thank you for people saying they're not listening to anybody but me. I think that's a good plan. Because I'm just like, blah, blah, blah.
Stephanie Miller. Weekday mornings, 8 to 11 on WCPT 820. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us as we continue to drive it home. And joining us on the line right now is the host of Outside the Box on WHBY in Appleton, Wisconsin, and one of my guests and fill-in hosts and guest co-hosts who gets the most, generates the most calls, texts, both supportive and like, what's wrong with you? Ben Cominos joins us. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, it's been a week, Patty. How about yourself?
I should have invited you to come with me to New Orleans, is all I'm saying. It was.
Oh yeah, how was I forgot about that. You were just about to leave when I left you last. How'd things go?
Well, you know what was interesting? I was actually at the World War II Museum. As you enter, like there's the road to Tokyo and the road to Germany, and you walk in, and there's an image of Mussolini and Hitler. And moments later, I got the video of Elon Musk doing the Nazi salute. So
yeah, timing.
It was. And then the other thing was my friend told me because I have a degree in history, and I actually was doing work in grad school about, I'm not kidding you. I don't know if you're familiar. I know you are this week, but with the WASPs, the women who piloted ferry planes, planes for target practice and test pilots, they used to have an exhibit there. She was like, oh, it's great. And we went to the, one of the tour guides, and they're like, oh no. And I knew it when she said, I was like, I'll bet you it was a temporary display, and it was replaced by another temporary display, which is the Tuskegee Airmen. Both of those targeted. I'm like, well, is it because I was standing there? Did I take pictures? And all of a sudden, Trump is removing it from the Air Force's, their history class. So yeah, so anyway, that's how my week started. But okay, so that was a lot, and I have a guest on the line. How are you pacing yourself with everything all the breaking news?
Well, I'm literally pacing as I'm listening to you talk right now. I'll be real with you, Patty. I did not have a show the first term. You know what I mean? So I knew this was going to be a learning curve, because how was I going to cover the Trump years,
Yep.
And there's a lot. I don't know if I didn't think about this. There's a lot that goes into it every single day. Like, I have done nothing but hammer this guy for a week straight, and I haven't said a thing about the inspectors general. Not that I don't even care about it. It's just that so much stuff has happened in 7 days that a very major story happened, and I didn't talk about it for a week.
Well,
because I was just talking about other stuff.
But didn't he fire them on Friday? So it would have been pretty much kind of after your week of shows. So now it would just be, honestly, I know it seems like it was a week, but I think he fired like 12 to 17. I didn't get the numbers because I woke up on Saturday, I think, with that news. I don't think it was all, like, it didn't happen every day last week, was it?
Well, then I should say that I didn't do it today because I jumped into other
There's so many other things.
All about Trump.
Yeah. How can you not? It is what are your what's your audience? What's their temperature? Because you have a very diverse background. I mean, politically, are folks that are generally rah Trump? Are they still very excited? This is everything they wanted. It's a dream come true for them.
I think they know better. If they are thinking that, I doubt they would say it to me, because I very much, being younger than a large percentage of my listening base, and the ones that are my age kind of look at me more as a peer. I borderline shame them, but not in like the liberal way of shaming, like the Ben Commono's way of shaming. Like, egg prices went up, the price of other groceries went up, and I was doing my show today saying, but at least it's harder to hire black people now, so I imagine it'll be cheaper to live any moment. And, like,
yep.
The people who called my show and interacted about the economy and said, this is why I'm voting for this, Biden and Harris messed this up, and I do not trust them, they are already emailing me. They will not condemn Trump yet, but they're already talking about, he's setting us up for X, Y, and Z failure. There is no blind devotion. There is no let's wait and see what happens. That, at least as of right now, hasn't happened, and I've been unrelenting. Like, it has. I knew, because I was hard on Biden, and I agree with like 60% of what he does and says. I knew this was going to be an intense turnaround for a lot of the listeners. Some of them have backlash. I'm getting first-time texts and callers that get really angry, but no one who interacts regularly. But I guess there were some quiet people that were cool with me bashing Biden that all of a sudden the exact same attitude towards Trump isn't going to fly. But they weren't part of the picture before, so I don't view it as much loss.
Wow. And, you know, I think about this, people who, you know, we occupy a space where it is our job to have these conversations, to call things as we see them. I mean, you know, if people agree, they agree. You know, we're not imposing this on anybody. I mean, I worked at a radio station where I kind of had to thread the needle previously during the last Trump administration, but it was pretty clear where that I was not supportive of Trump. And I don't know that if I had made it past the first element of, you know, being sort of marginalized, if they would keep me on, if I was still as vocal. I think that they were prohibited or, you know, instructed not to talk about Trump, whether it was on the air or on their social media. And I know you've written a piece about the meteorologist from CBS 58, Sam Kuffel. That was pretty fast. That was just a couple days after the inauguration. And no, we will not be allowing folks to express themselves. What are your thoughts on that? What would you want to tell folks about being in Wisconsin and learning of that story?
Yeah, so I did not know the girl, but by all accounts, I texted my program director, who's roughly my age, right after I read it. All he said was, wow, and she was really light, too, to which I immediately said, I'm clearly going to attack this. Do I have your blessing? And he said, as long as you back it up, you say whatever you want. Because I'll be honest, Patty, I didn't like the way it was trending, and even the other groups reporting on it. I believe it was a Journal Sentinel article when it first got broke that said she was fired over a, quote, arm gesture, as opposed to calling it what it obviously was.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was a very tacit response to what was happening. And I compared it to, and I know this hits home with you, Jay Weber, or however you say that guy's name, over at ISN, who referred to Tim Walz's autistic child as a blubbering you-know-what boy, still currently employed there, but apparently condemning an obvious Nazi salute as an obvious Nazi salute is a bridge too far for people. And I don't want to overinflate the importance of what groups like ours do, but I will say that nobody was calling it a Nazi salute. My article went out, had a pretty decent range of the people that saw it, and then you started to see the opinion pieces started to flow in all over Wisconsin.
Oh, there you go.
As long as the standard is set, as long as the permission structure is set, people will do it. You just can't be a little baby about it. I dove in head first, and I know I have management's back, or they have my back. So, like, screw it. If you know what you're looking at, you can back it up. Call it for how you see it. It seems like a lot of operations didn't have the guts to do it until they knew they'd be safe.
Right. And here's the thing, folks. If you want to continue to have that argument, and the fact that the Proud Boys and, you know, KKK members are like, finally, you know, we have a leader, that they were excited that Elon Musk did it. How is that not enough for you to go, oh, I mean, like, it excites them. It should outrage you.
Forget about even that, Patty. Like, that's the thing. For like a month leading up to that, you can almost see the blocks falling into place. Yes. I did an episode. He switched his profile picture to Pepe the Frog, which is a known picture of anti-Semitism. He threw his weight once before the Nazi salutes and then once again after the Nazi salutes for the AfD party in Germany, a known alt-right party that absolutely embraces fascism. Like, he did all of this stuff and then a flagrant Nazi salute, and they're pretending like there's some form of plausible deniability here. There isn't. We know exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah. There's no confusion there at all. I did 2 hours on that on Thursday. We didn't talk about anything else. It was just that. And if you look at the Facebook comments on my page, ton of people willing to try and defend it and send still shots of Barack Obama or something. Right.
It is remarkable watching them.
Send the whole video, folks. We want the whole video because we have the whole video of him speaking, doing it once to the audience and turning around and doing it right to Trumpler.
Oh, yeah. That's all in the article that I posted as well, all of those extra long videos and the videos of all the Democrats doing it and how not Nazi salute that those all look. So it has it all in there. It's pretty hard to defend from either perspective.
Well, and this goes back to what Jim called about and what I was talking about earlier is, there's this urge, this urgency from them, from MAGA, from the right wingers, from the GOP, from Trump, from everybody who supported him to create their own reality. But we've been feeling this for a while, and it's aggravating. I don't know any other way to put it, because I'm not crazy. I know I'm not. I mean, not about this, but their insistence is maddening.
Yeah, and what's frustrating to me, and I pulled some audio for it to talk about tomorrow, you can already see Fox News laying the groundwork for the narrative now being, of course, stuff is going to be expensive. We all need to live within our means. So it's going to be essentially much of what frustrates me with the Biden supporters that would call my show, saying that the economy was not bad because it was bad, but because no one was saving appropriately. It now seems like they are trying to gear the Trumpers up to talk that way.
Yeah.
So I am just going to run full force into that narrative and try and annihilate that to the best of my ability, because that to me is what this election was all about. You and I both know they're not going to fix it. It's just a matter of making sure the people that voted for it don't all of a sudden get distracted by the shiny toys in front of them with the deportations and the flashy, woke culture is gone now. Like, if that's truly what they voted for, which I refuse to believe, but if that's truly all they wanted, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to ask you this, because you led me down, and I didn't go head first into the rabbit hole about Greenland and the minerals that are underneath the thermofrost or whatever, right? That we want it because once that melts, it'll be easier to mine. Gotcha. But thank you for that. But also, yikes. But are you following the story about DeepSeek today? And,
oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so because I've been trying to wrap my mind around AI, right? And what I'm learning today, I kind of feel like I got a crash course in it, because, for years I'd heard don't get involved in AI. It's going to destroy the planet. It is destroying the planet. The amount of resources when they bring in these data centers, it consumes coal and gas, and then, clean water, which, because they have to cool it a certain way. And what I understand today with DeepSeek is that this hedge fund guy found a way to finance it for a fraction of the cost and not all the resources we've been led to believe, which means that all these other companies were basically securing all this money for resources that aren't even necessary for this kind of technology. And so I want to know how much AI and all these billionaires had in also buying this election, only to burn this planet for unnecessary reasons, which was the case anyway. Anyway, I'm losing my mind. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah. So CNBC reported as of 4:30 this afternoon that NVIDIA, the chips company that's been kind of the focal point of this, in one day has lost $600 billion worth of value based on what was discovered over the course of the last 24 hours. A bunch of other tech companies, not nearly to that extent, but there is a lot of red. The stock market as a whole is doing okay. I am by no means a stock expert. I don't know if this is going to continue down this trend. But your assessment is exactly right. I mean, Trump came out last week, said these three companies are going to invest $500 billion into doing this. 100 Chinese scientists built this AI system for right around $6 million with an M, and we're talking about $500 billion worth of investment. It's clearly, I don't know if the 500 billion was them knowing that DeepSeek was coming out and they were trying to get ahead of it with this intimidating number, because I was skeptical of the fact that the government wasn't funding it. I don't know if this was an effort for them to justify some stupid tax or some stupid payments that we were eventually going to have to pay to use their software. I had no idea. But what I do know is not only did they build this, my favorite part is they released 80% of the code. The joke I said on my show today was, if someone in your family does computers on their resume, give them the code. See if they can actually use this to then build their own AI model. They essentially revolutionized the entire industry by making it so any of us with enough know-how can compete. And it's kind of awesome, but it's going to cost the stock market. If you were retiring soon, there's a chance your 401k might not be looking as strong today as it was Friday. Yeah,
Reuters was reporting that it was NVIDIA was the stock lost. Yeah. It was more, loses about $593 billion worth of value as of an hour ago.
Yeah. It's a record.
That's crazy. Yep.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was over $1 trillion across. It's crazy. It's a wild story, and in true America fashion, it's barely a blip on the radar. I have MSNBC on as I'm talking to you. And it's something about, deportations are important. I don't want to gloss over it, but this is a massive story that I think is not getting near. I think it will slowly pick up steam if it continues developing along these lines.
Yeah, I was following someone who explained it on Blue Sky that essentially our model here, with all the hundreds of billions, the trillions of dollars invested in AI and all the resources that I mentioned, coal, gas, water, and property, right, clearing land, is the business model. It's based on business of hoarding as much money as possible rather than relying on science, which they're saying is what seems to be the Chinese model for this.
Well, you know what the most embarrassing part about it is for America is we actually blocked China from the best versions of technology. Like, the chips that we are using are more advanced than what China's using in every way. So they're whooping our rear ends with way worse technology, and it's operating 90 times faster at barely a fraction of a percentage of the cost. Like, it's absolutely wild that it's this bad of a beatdown, if everything we're hearing is true. This is all a relatively new story still. Assuming all of this still pans out the way it is, it's wild to follow along with, and I think it should be a bigger story than it is.
Well, and you were mentioning, that people said they voted because of the cost of eggs and bacon and things like that, that Trump, and also apparently water pressure, which I never, he mentioned, but nobody else does. But you mentioned deportations, and a listener texted in, $800,000 per flight to deport less than 100 people is the biggest waste of taxpayers' money since a $700 hammer. A charter flight from one of the struggling airlines would be cheaper. Right. So, but that's the thing, is these contracts. That's the other part of this, is, which Eisenhower warned us of. This is part of the military-industrial complex of just spending money for, all these other contracts, and that's how we have to do it, is with a military plane. What is this something that's coming up with your listeners as well, with how much money it costs?
I shine a light on all those kind of expenditures there. Again, I'm pretty sure that flight you're talking about cost $800,000. It got turned back, if I read correctly. It didn't even actually do the thing that it said it was supposed to do. Right now, I'm reading 1,000 people have been deported, and I would love to know per capita what it's costing the American taxpayer to pull that off. Because you're exactly right. And you're making me tear myself in two here, because it's so frustrating, because you knew this is where we were headed, and it's not even like I can say there was a viable option otherwise. Like, we have a president who does not care that there's obvious collusion within every industry keeping prices high. Without a president willing to call that out, the prices were always going to stay high, and I knew that. What's driving me nuts is how quickly so many Republicans are like, no, this is good. I already feel America coming back. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what I watched happen when I thought I was falling apart in 2021. And I'm just like, oh, my God. Everybody pay attention to what's happening here. And I don't know. I'm still optimistic. I still think it can happen. But, like, it's been a long 4 years this week, Patty. I can tell you that.
Well, before I let you go, 'cause I'm not gonna throw any more maddening things your way. Although I kind of want to, because I'm getting a few texts asking about all the voter suppression laws that were passed, between 2020 and 2024, as well as the documentary and the work that Greg Palast does, folks. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But aside from that, It's very hard, and it has been a very long week. I would recommend, Ben. Well, first of all, that's what I want to ask you. How was axe throwing? You were heading back to Wisconsin to do a little axe throwing. Did you have fun?
It was really fun.
Yes?
It was really fun. Yeah, no, things went well. We're still chatting. We
Excellent.
got good things going.
Excellent.
Yeah, she wasn't a werewolf.
She was not a werewolf. And was it one of those beer on the wall places where you got to go try whatever beers you like from the wall?
No, so they had it's Wisconsin, right? So they had, I don't remember the name of it now, but they just had every kind of, because I can't drink beer, but right. I was drinking whiskeys while I was throwing axes, so it was all right.
Which sounds like a great idea. Awesome. Well, Ben, I would recommend, I don't know if you heard me talking about the dead man's float, which is what I'm describing, it's a survival skill when you're in the water and you're stranded and you don't want to use energy while waiting for rescue. Yeah. Not that we're waiting for rescue, but we're participating hopefully in our own rescue, but find a way to conserve the energy, because this is like just holding on for dear life, and I can't go at that pace. I really can't.
Tell me about it. It's I'm not like last week was exhausting. I'm telling you, my Thursday show, I'm just a dude screaming into a microphone for 2 hours about Nazis. I went and looked at the sound wave after the show ended, and I just modulated for 2 hours. I did not dial it down. And I'm like, well, this can't be the way things go for 4 years.
No.
This isn't going to work.
Now go throw some.
I hear you. I appreciate it.
Go throw some more axes or something like that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Take care, my friend. It's Ben Cominos. Where's the best? WHBY.com. You can also download their app, because they have that, and listen to all of Ben's shows. Have a great week,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
Yeah, you too.
Take
all
care.
right, bye.
All right, fine. We got to keep doing this. Take care. Let's take a break here. We'll be joined by Dr. Jason Bissell in studio on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
Out Chicago.
If you think of every single thing from the Supreme Court to deporting these poor immigrants who are just trying to work hard and feed their families and have a better life, to the trans community that was thrown under the bus, you just wonder, where will the hate, where will the fear end? And if you keep thinking about it, like I just mentioned, it's a nowhere street mentally.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820. You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
For hanging out with us, folks. Tomorrow on Choose Views, Richard's guests will be cartoonist and comics journalist Josh Neufeld, Carmen Noble, the program director and editor-in-chief of the Journalists Resource, and Emma Fisher, chief operating officer at Climate Cabinet. And if you miss any of Richard's interviews with, this morning's interview with Greg Palast was fantastic. That's being featured, now available on Choose Views featured interview podcast. Choose Views, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central, right here on WCPT. Also, wherever you find your podcasts. Joining me in studio is our good friend, Dr. Jason Bissell, the proprietor of Chikumaku ChicagoCommunityAcupuncture.com. Chicago Community Acupuncture. It's been our last guest, Ben Comino, said it's been a wild 4 years this week. We're tired, and I don't know if you heard me explain why I chose to go to New Orleans last week, which is I wanted to find some place that I knew would be as distracting as possible. I did not know I would be in a historic snowfall, but why not enjoy that too? No one in our lifetimes has seen that since the late 1800s. No, it's been over 160 years. So.
Yeah, I saw that on your Facebook post.
Isn't that crazy?
They don't even have shovels down there.
They do not. They don't have salt. Okay, I haven't told this story yet. This is my favorite sort of Midwest to New Orleans stories. So a guy who owns plows in Indiana saw the forecast and said, well, I'm going to drive down and see if they can use me. Not only could they use him at $500 an hour, they said, sure, bring your other 14 plows and drivers down here.
Wow.
So over 24 hours, they build, and my husband was mentioning, like, it saves them millions to not have trucks on staff. They made $174,000 in billing in one 24-hour period.
Wow.
To clear the streets because they don't have salt. I don't know if they have sand. I didn't see any. Once it got cold, so it was up to 8 inches where we were, 10 inches, 11 inches, 12 inches in the surrounding area, blowing snow. Where I was, it was a solid, when you get that solid snow compressed by, cars and trucks, it was just a solid sheet of ice. But at any rate, it was remarkable. But I wanted it to be someplace where there's nothing I can. There's a sense of I'm going to have to do a lot for the next 4 years, but I can't do it at the I have to I need to create my own rhythm. Well, create my own rhythm. Yes, pacing, I guess, same thing. And there's a move called the Dead Man's Float when you take survival water lessons. Are you familiar with the Dead Man's Float? So that's what I feel like. I'm going to pop my head up for air, take care of myself, but make sure I survive and can help others when necessary. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not even the mask in the airplane anymore. Like I did that before. Mm-hmm. I don't want to feel like I'm in a crashing plane. I'm just floating. Floating's relaxing.
Oh, it's terrifying right now.
Yes.
And you can't be on all the time.
No.
Last time I was here a month ago, you had asked if I was seeing increased anxiety from my patients with Trump's election. And it had been ticking up moderately, and now it's just taken off. It's terrible. And I want to assure all of our Latina and Latino listeners out there, we don't ask for immigration status. If you need help with anything, anxiety or physical related, Chicago Community Acupuncture, hablo español más o menos. No estoy fluente, but
that's great.
Enough to communicate, and we can help you folks out, and we're providing a safe place as best we can.
That's great because I was talking to my friend, Dr. Susana Flores, who was on the air with us on Thursday from New Orleans. And she said, I was telling her that I had you scheduled for today. And she said, well, she didn't realize how helpful acupuncture could be for stress and anxiety. So tell us a little bit about that, because not whether you're the target or you are unable to sleep at night because you see Nazism full force coming towards us and people don't seem to be reacting around you appropriately. Well, tell us how this can help manage a lot of that.
Well, there are a lot of studies done showing that acupuncture helps to reduce anxiety. My published work, part of that involved a technique that reduced anxiety for folks just with one 20-minute treatment. You give them an anxiety inventory before, you give it to them after, and they're much more relaxed afterwards. And this was compared to placebo controls in a controlled study. It's also done many other studies in anxiety-provoking situations, such as going in for a dental procedure. They show that it significantly reduces anxiety for that, or surgery.
Right.
And the U.S. military is using this a lot now for PTSD.
Oh, great.
They've got it for their active duty and for the veterans, because we know what they see can be horrific there, and they can have lasting scars from that. And they found that acupuncture, specifically what they're doing there is ear acupuncture, which is kind of a simplified version that they can learn, the medics can learn without having to go through the full training. But still, even that watered-down version is still very effective at reducing folks' PTSD symptoms, their anxiety, the insomnia, and other appetite disturbances and other ways that this can manifest.
No doubt. And that's what my friend was telling me, is that we don't realize how many people who have complex PTSD in this environment of whether it's gaslighting or fear of safety for yourself and others, this constant onslaught of attacks on what we had come to believe was a country that had the potential to make sure that we protected the rights and freedoms of all, sliding back into this era of not even sliding back, but also someone called it not the oligarchy oligarchy, but the ugligarchy. And it's really ugly and hard to see so many people sort of just turn this country over into whether it's a police state of enforcement and ruling through fear, intimidation. It's wild. And we are suffering from a form of trauma.
Yes, and it's so pervasive. My youngest daughter is in 8th grade, and she's freaked out because she heard about these the Homeland Security coming to CPS schools, and she's in a CPS school, and she's more afraid now of an ICE raid than she is of the active shooter drills that they do several times a year. Because this seems much more likely to her, and she doesn't have anything to worry about. But a lot of her friends, we don't know, and I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to ask. I don't care anybody's immigration status. They're her classmates. They belong there. They belong in the school. They belong in the city. They belong here. They belong to feel safe. And I don't want anybody in that school to be afraid of ICE coming in, and I don't want ICE coming in. That they leave the kids alone.
You have this unique ability to, I don't think people realize because we don't have the cameras on. I mean, like, I got a little scared there. Like, the look at, no, but seriously, you are so angry, but your tone doesn't change at all. So, I mean, are you aware of that? Like, it was, I mean, I kind of snapped when you said, I don't care what they're sad at. Like, and I agree with that. And I think that's, you're trying to manage it then. I can see. And I also heard that deep breath, right? And that's what I find that I have to remind myself, like I was thinking this the other day, like I'm taking just shallow breaths, and which is survival mode, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right. That's why I think of Dead Man's Float. Like you can't be constantly. I have to take a deep breath and then survive again.
That is a great analogy there. I hadn't thought about that, because if you're breathing shallow, you're going to sink.
Right.
You've got to fill your lungs in the Dead Man's Float. We've got to keep we need this breath for life here, folks.
I just have to find a different name for it, because I don't think it's kind of a grim name for it.
Survivor's float.
Survivor's float.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because floating, again, like we mentioned, is very relaxing. And when and the nice thing is at Chikumaku, at Chicago Community Acupuncture, the chairs that you have those zero gravity chairs. So mm-hmm. they look like, you're like, oh, they're lawn chairs, and you tilt this back and you're like, oh, I am floating now, mm-hmm. which is important for that sort of not that weightless feeling of just focusing on the experience, right, on your body.
Yeah, they're surprisingly comfortable. In community acupuncture, we don't have treatment tables. It's not like massage tables. We have lounge chairs there. And people are always surprised at how very comfortable they are once they lie back in them. A lot of folks fall asleep. I had a guy snoring a little loudly today. I had to give him a little nudge so he would disturb the other patients there.
Sure. Yeah. Are you finding that people are because maybe it's because their stress is so high, so once they get that relaxed, the relaxing is is like equally aggressive.
It's a greater decompression, yeah.
Yeah.
It's letting the air out of an overfilled balloon rather than just out of a normally filled balloon.
Because I find, so I need it, because I refuse to admit that I snore. However, I know I do. It's an argument in my house. But I'm starting to snore pretty quickly upon falling. It'll wake me up. It's so aggressive. So I think that's must be what's happening, is that I'm on high alert during the day.
You're crashing harder.
I'm crashing harder. So what are some of the things, would you say that if folks are coming to manage through acupuncture, would you say, come in for 2 treatments in a week or 1 treatment and then come back? Like, what would you say is a succession of treatments?
Generally, we start out with weekly, and then as things get more under control, then we go to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we spread it out like that. If something is really bad, if it's interfering with their daily life, their ability to take care of the things they need to, then they might want to start out with twice a week. And for acute conditions in China, they might treat twice a day, 5 days a week. But over there, it's like $5 a treatment.
Right.
It's state subsidized, and they may be inpatient for this, so they get more than we can afford to give here.
I don't even want to ask what the possibilities of having acupuncture covered by healthcare. Like that's going to be another blow to the people in your industry. I don't know what you call it, but in your field.
Yes, yeah, you can call it either. It is an industry. We are industrious in what we're trying to do here.
There you go.
And there are some states that have passed laws saying that all insurances have to cover acupuncture. Illinois will be the 50th state to pass that law, because we are the home of the AMA. The American Medical Association have got great lobbying power, and they have well connected in Springfield. There are tens of thousands of physicians. We've got, I think, 600 or 700 acupuncturists. We are very small potatoes, and so about 5% of policies in Illinois will pay something for our patients. Not enough that we're set up to deal with it,
right?
But 95%, which is why I opened up Chicago Community Acupuncture, because most of the places we have to charge too much, and it keeps a lot of people from accessing this vital medicine. But Chicago Community Acupuncture is just $50 a pop, which most people, fortunately, a lot more people are able to afford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish it could be even less, but then we can't make rent and we can't afford it. We can't provide this to anybody.
Well, if you think about the value of, the expertise and having that relax, for 50 minutes, I believe 40, it depends on the session.
Yeah, it's about 45 to an hour, yeah.
So, it's such an investment in yourself. When you invest in yourself and see those results for long term, it's important to understand that value.
Yes, and especially I need to make this plea to the caregivers out there. I've got the mothers that are bringing their children in, and the mothers are suffering, and I can see that, the mothers are in bad shape because of their own shape, but also it's spilling over to the kids. It's spilling over to the family members that they're picking up on the anxiety, they're picking up on the stress, and so if you're no good, you're no good to anybody else. So Please, to the caregivers, you need to take care of yourself too.
Okay.
We've got this bullheaded, independent ideal that you shouldn't need anybody's help with anything, and you should be able to do a lot of things for other people too. But there's a growing awareness of karma in our country here, in our culture, and karma is that which balances all. And loosely understood is what goes around comes around. And a piece of karma that people often overlook is that it can be good karma to let other people develop their karma. So it's okay to receive help. We all like to help others. We feel good about giving, but other people want to feel good too.
Absolutely.
So give your friends and family the chance to help you to develop their karma. We are social creatures. We are a big family here. We need to allow ourselves to rely on others as much as we expect them to rely on us.
Well said. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with Dr. Jason Bissell, the proprietor of Chikomaku. That's chikomaku.com.
Yep.
It's Chicago Community Acupuncture. And you can visit the website to make an appointment. Or if it's easier for you by phone, what's the best number for them to call?
773-853-0920.
And there's a question for you regarding your location and what you like to eat in the area. You know what I'm going to say next. That's from a listener. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. You're driving it home with me, Patti Vasquez, and I'm so glad that you're here.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for joining us. We are in our communities here in Chicago, especially we are specifically on the northwest side of Chicago. And joining me in studio is one of our business neighbors and sponsors here at WCPT, Dr. Jason Bissell, helping us keep these conversations going. And we really appreciate that. I was just thinking how much joy we had, even before we knew that Kamala Harris would be the candidate, when we were in the Pride Parade. Mm-hmm. There was still like this, I think that we were trying to find that energy of like, let's all stay in this together. It's just so strange to see the flip side, not just the contrast between the beautiful summer day in June and this cold, January day, but it really is. It does feel like that. Like it feels like the sun's a little dimmer.
Winter is coming.
It was. Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time. Yeah.
But that is a great memory. Just all the city. It felt like the whole city was out for that.
Yeah.
And just love and acceptance all around. That was a great day.
Yeah, and Idaho has just announced that they are working to overturn block gay marriage in their state because they want the Supreme Court to see it. So it's just, again, that I just saw that news story again with that memory of the Pride Parade and supporting each other. And you mentioned that your daughter who's in 8th grade, and you have two, one in high school, one in 8th grade. What do you say to parents? Because I say that to you, like, I know that you don't have all the answers, and we both wish that we did. We both wish that this wasn't the world our kids grew up. I mean, I know how you feel because Griffin was so invested in the results of the election in 2016, and I didn't want to come home. I'd been on the air during, when Trump took the stage in victory, and I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to say to him. Right. And so, we've worked, done but he's a changed person. And so what do you do to make sure that your daughters feel protected and they feel emboldened to be who they are?
Well, I take a lot of, my lead from Tom Hartman, who's the eternal optimist and likes to point out that our country has been through terrible things before, and we have bounced back. And so I put my faith in our resilience to make it through. It's a bad time. I also take comfort in knowing that the pendulum swings.
Right.
And it can only go so far before it has to come back. And that's the whole yin-yang theory in Chinese medicine, that you can only go so far into the darkness before it starts turning light again. And I thought we were there at the end of Trump's 4 years, but apparently we have a little darker to get. But it can't stay that way forever.
Right. Oh, I agree. It's knowing that people will suffer. And this is, I guess this is why I struggle so much. Like why I went to Springfield when Governor Rauner first started making just horrific cuts to social services, was I knew personally people who were already suffering within days of those cuts. Easter Seals and Meals on Wheels will cut their programs almost right away, because if they don't think money's coming in, they don't know how to, they can't schedule out, they can't, put together proposals of like where money's going to be coming from. And I know that people suffered and will continue to, whether it's financially, physically, if we've lost people. And that's what's really hard is knowing that people. And do you have like your own sort of personal safety plan, and whatever that is, making sure that you will you quit drinking during the pandemic? That's something that you have documented as well on social media, like those kinds of things, knowing that you need to be better prepared for what comes next. Is that part of that plan?
I wish I could say that it was as much
it turns out
thinking about society.
Idea.
It was a personal decision that it was the best thing for me at the time, but then realizing the better I am for the rest of my patients, for the best of the society.
Right.
And so we should all try and polish ourselves up and be our best selves as best we can. But I don't really have some sort of
plan. I don't either. I'm just trying to figure. I'm trying to figure it out and what that looks like. Now, as I mentioned, part of my plan was to start with letting the world slow down around me as I went to New Orleans. Didn't know it was going to get that slow with so much snow, but I enjoyed such good food. I will say I enjoyed some really good cocktails, so I ask. I know that you have also these Chinese diet books nutrition books that you share. But do you as a listener, would like to know, first of all, they say, Dr. Basil, I said, hiya, and ask him how often he trots across the roads to get a super dog.
On average, I'd say about twice a year.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're wonderful. I'm happy to have them there. I usually bring my lunch, and it's not something that I would want to feed myself too frequently. But I think they're tasty, and I'm glad they're a Chicago institution and happy to have them across the street.
Well, if you go for a third time, I don't know if you only get the Super Dog, because their burgers are fabulous as well.
I have never tried one of their burgers.
Oh, Doc. I mean, because it's not as processed. It's ground beef. Just saying, very good as well.
Yeah,
I recommend it with the caramelized onions.
Okay,
really good. I think it's like on an onion roll. So good. Oh, you can get it on dark rye. Wow, I eat more Super Dogs than I thought I did. But they also have grilled chicken sandwiches now too. What do you want to make sure folks know about at Chikumaku at Chicago Community Acupuncture?
Well, I want everybody to know that we're now 7 days a week. I've hired another practitioner here. We've got a fabulous team of committed professionals that are on board with our mission to provide top quality care at an affordable price. So we're accessible Monday through Sunday. We've got evening hours. And please call us if you have any questions. We're happy to talk to you. The number is 773-853-0920, or go to the website, ShyComAcu, or as the kids corrected me, Chikomaku.com. And we're right across from Superdog at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel.
Yeah, exactly. And before we go, are you training once again for more Ironmen and all the things, triathlon? Are you doing triathlons?
Triathlons, yes. Yeah, I did the marathon last year, and I'm one and done with that, but I'm signed up for 5 triathlons this year, including a half and a full Ironman.
Okay.
So yes, I am in full training mode already.
Where do you swim during the winters?
In the pool at the gym.
Is it, like in Chicago or in the suburbs?
I'm at.
I was telling you the exact location, like at a Y, at a park district, or
it's at a gym. Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I'm trying to figure out where I want to go. So it's just a pain.
Yes, especially when it's cold out.
Yes, it's a pain. I know I should go do it. Yoga. I'm gonna get on YouTube and do some more yoga and dancing. That's
that's good too.
Yes. do a little bit of dancing, a little, keep the rhythm going.
It's good for the soul.
It is good for the soul. Well, I look forward to having you back at the end of February. We have Dr. Jason Bassell on the last Monday of each month, in case you're wondering how the schedule works out and you hadn't noticed it before. Not that you have to worry about our schedule. I wish you the very best, and say hi to the girls for me, the whole family.
Thank you, Patty.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing them again soon, too.
Yep.
Thank you. Let's take a break here. We'll come back with Jen Zanotti in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
Hey, Progressives, this is Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views here on WCPT AM 820, 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. We have some real challenges in front of us as a country. Since the beginning of this show, I have always felt compelled to bring you the best that I've got. Now, there's always a why to doing whatever we do. So, as we go forward and face these challenges, know this, you listeners are my why. Because I want to make sure I do everything I can to provide a safe, open, forward-moving space that allows you to call, email, text, or just listen to a guy that wants to help you bring out your own championship qualities to truly make this place better for us all. Lofty goal, idealistic, maybe so. But that's my why, and I look forward to bringing you the best that I've got. This is Richard Chu. Stay tuned.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Oh, that's weird. Hold on, let me see if they'll play. Why won't my theme music go? Huh. Oh, that's my fault. That's me. Operator fault. That's me.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, and you know what, saying Happy Monday doesn't feel right. It's going to take me a minute. Let's warm up to that. That was Steve Goody, by the way, who does the theme song, and I will work with him to get another theme song that's updated. But it reminds me that tonight, as we do every Monday night, we gather online for a virtual comedy show. You can go to virtualcomedyshow.com, and every week I join Brad Lee Tassel, who's an internationally touring comedian, and he broadcasts this great, he produces this great show, gathering with musicians and comics all over the world. And Steve Goody, who is the host of the Bluebird Cafe on Sunday nights, and will be in Chicago joining me. I believe we're going to be at Tata's Tacos, kicking it back off on March 6th, folks. I just talked to Marcy today, and we're going to be doing, I'm going to be bringing in other producers. I can't do a show every week, a stand-up comedy. It's a lot, and so I thought, what a great way to highlight and put a spotlight on other comics. So we're going to be working with Adam Burke, Janice Rodriguez, to produce weekly shows on Thursday. So that'll be coming up starting on March 6th. So I'm very excited about that. And I'll talk to Paul Farvar, too, and see if he wants to put together a show. Maybe we'll do like an interactive show once a month where we can do kind of an interview variety show. So that would be fun. So because we're trying to find ways to take care of ourselves, to gather. And again, tonight, virtualcomedyshow.com. It's free. You can leave a tip in the Venmo, Zelle jar if you'd like. And I also want to say hi to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul. You can have our virtual comedy show on while you're listening to me, and you'll hear me promote this. It'll be weird. It'll be so meta. You got to do that. Right now when you're listening on KTNF, go to virtualcomedyshow.com, virtualcomedyshow.com, and you can tune in because, I like to gather with folks, and I'm so glad that you're listening here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in Chicago. And joining me is one of my favorite human beings, Jen Zanotti. She can be found at All Things Gen Z. She does all kinds of things to help people feel better. She's our positivity expert. And I said, you know what? I think I sent you the GIF of the person holding onto a fire hose and just being whipped around. Like, that's how fast the news is coming.
You did.
Yes. And I saw, I love, and I want to, if you want to, because you highlighted your husband's joining Substack to share his thoughts about what's going on. And you have a Substack as well. So tell us first a little bit about yours and where we can find that, as well as your husband's. And Jay's.
Well, mine, I have to say, I have not been putting out as much content on the blog side of things, but it's, you can go on there. Ooh, I think it's just Gen Z.
Excellent.
Gen Z on my Substack. And Jay's got some funky Greek name for his, of course, but just follow him at Jay Ferrari, and you'll find his blog. But I'm so excited that he finally started his own Substack. He's a writer, and he's so talented, and he would always write these crazy long Facebook posts, and I'm like, you just need to do this on a Substack. So he has now published 2 pieces on there. So super
excellent.
exciting.
Excellent. It's the latest piece, I think, is Temer Cognitones. I don't know what that means.
That's the name of his Substack.
His Substack. Gotcha. But I don't know the origin of that. Now I'll have to find out. But I love that he, sort of challenges the jiu-jitsu community and, the way they're reacting, sort of the idea of masculinity and things like that, which we're kind of struggling with every day. This idea of, what it means to be, masculine, what it means to be American. We're all being inundated with stories that are coming out. So, whether it's, ICE raids or it's Nazi salutes, so all the things that I don't drag you into. But I'm trying to find a way to share with folks, to find their own personal way of managing their own pace. Well, what do you tell folks?
Mm-hmm. I think, as you had kind of asked me earlier, how can people handle all this news or, just everything that's kind of going on? I think, we have to feel our feelings always because it's frustrating and there's a lot of things happening that you're like, I can't believe this is actually going to be happening. This is our, new normal, hopefully not for too long. It's kind of like a guessing game, like what's really going to happen next. So I think in those times of hearing the news and things that are happening, to think about, what can we do to help make things better? I think trying to create this positive spin on what can we do to get out there and either support people and communities that are going to need this extra support right now? What can we do to, make an impact and help create some change? Of course, things might be inevitable and things that are going to be happening, but what can we do, instead of being so down and frustrated about them, which of course we need to feel these feelings. I'm going to go back to that because this is very interesting times right now, but I think to be able to circle it back as asking yourself, what can you do to help? And what communities can you do to help with outreach and things like that? So I think really being there for others right now is going to be super, super important.
I think I love that. And I want to go back to what you said you wanted to talk about, which is feeling the feelings, right? And I think not being mad at yourself. There is a momentum, though, because our brains are so powerful when we start to try to imagine beyond what's actually happening, too, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we can start, I don't want to say spiraling, but you're like, if this happens, then this can happen. There's a lot of fears and unknowns, and also seeing things that have come to light like, oh, man, is this really going to happen? And this kind of change is going to be created. So, and maybe not the most positive way. So I think, feeling that and understanding like, okay, there's going to be some anxiety and there might be a lot of different changes and people in my life that might be impacted. And I think it just comes back to having those people you can talk to, really getting to journaling, right? You need to express your emotions and how you're feeling. You need to reach out to others that might be suffering or might be impacted a little bit more than you as well, and just really be able to be there to extend that support. I think you're going to see a lot of people coming together as something that's going to be crucial to get through a lot of these hard times, and understanding and kind of seeing, how we can help in maybe different ways. Maybe there's things legally or, helping with certain non-for-profits or things like that, especially, as a lot of this immigration stuff, comes to light, and, what can we do to kind of help people that might be experiencing really challenging times.
Yeah, I know I talk about this all the time, folks, pretty much whenever we have a market. It's one of the reasons I love gathering at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market, which there is one coming up this Sunday. I won't be here for it, unfortunately, but they are going to be at the Irish American Heritage Center. And one of the reasons I love both there and at the park, Jen, is that, I get to see the folks I've been working with for several years. It's the only time I really get to see them. We catch up on stories and families. And then you see people, from the community. Sometimes we get new folks. And there is this, at the heart of all of it, it's this wanting to connect, support local businesses. And I think there's a way to find online, right? Don't you think, like, going online and find, like, think of those things, like focus on, like, what motivates me, right? Is it exercise? Is it nutrition? Is it sports, right? There's a lot of ways to find that out too, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think trying to find an outlet for yourself So there's many things. Look at something new. Maybe look at something you can do to be active that's also going to kind of help release the stress, help ease your mind a little bit, at least temporarily, but it's going to help, with different hormones and cortisol levels and stress levels. So doing that, reaching out, a lot of these activities are going to have a great community for you to be a part of. And looking at a place that you really feel good and you're getting good energy and good vibes, but also taking this as an opportunity, especially if you're feeling very emotional about things that are going on and feeling very passionate about wanting to help, looking up on online resources and seeing what communities or what groups or what things you can really kind of participate in to take it a step further and really create some action and support. So I think, like I said, being able to find community in different ways, if it's, through fitness, through, volunteering, through, whatever it might be for you, even reaching out to therapists, social workers, any type of outlet where you can be able to communicate and talk, especially if you don't have family or friends that you feel comfortable doing that with. I think it's just really important right now.
I agree. I really agree. And we talked in the last hour with our friend, Dr. Jason Bissell, who is a practitioner. He provides acupuncture at Chicago Community Acupuncture.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about alternative treatments too, or different resources we have in the community. Because I enjoyed a session of Reiki with you. And for folks who aren't familiar, because it does help, help with stress. It helps with, with releasing some trauma. Some of us have more that we still have to deal with. But tell folks about seeking out treatments like Reiki.
So Reiki is wonderful. It's energy healing for those people who aren't as familiar with it. I like to just let people know it's something that's very relaxing. If you've never experienced it, it's basically like you're going to be able to lay down and relax and take a nap for an hour. So who wouldn't like that, right? No expectations. I think sometimes when people aren't as open to something, they might not reap the benefit as much. So just being relaxed and calm, think of it as you're basically going to be guided through a meditation for an hour. Not forced to shut off your mind, but just kind of, going on a journey and being able to relax and someone helping you relax a little bit more. And, the more you do it, I think kind of the deeper in your travels and journeys you'll be able to go. But if anything else, it's going to be a form of relaxation for you. It's going to hopefully help you find some comfort, help you find some release. It can be very emotional. It's almost like a detox. But anything like that, acupuncture, Reiki, massage, any type of self-care, whatever you consider as self-care, I think is important for us to experience and I don't want to say force ourselves to do, but oftentimes we're taking care of so many other people and we need to take care of ourselves to be able to do that. So don't forget about yourself and show yourself some love and some grace right now. During these times, it's always important, but I think now it's really, really crucial.
And I know that, some of these services and practices can be costly. I want to remind folks that YouTube is such a wealth of resource. That's how I started before I started doing CrossFit, years right before we met each other, I started just doing a series of videos called Fit Blender. And seriously, it was just they do some even chair exercises or 7 minute workouts. And then I found 30-day yoga, and they were anywhere from 11 minutes and never more than 19 minutes because we think, it's just something. Find those, if you go through a series of videos or meditation. I do a lot of meditation on there. I haven't done enough recently, which brings me to my next question. For someone like you,
absolutely.
I know.
No, go ahead.
No, but you're so busy. You're training, you're coaching, you run your own business. You're online giving consultation to folks. Are you doing the things that you need to take care of yourself as somebody who's, also enjoys controlling what's going on?
That was a great question. So it's hard. I'm often giving this advice, but it is hard to make time to do that for myself. But recently, actually, I have been making more of a conscious effort. And I have to say, training for me is one of those outlets that is very meditative. So even though I am coaching, facilitating training for so many others, I do schedule in the time for me to do that for myself. So that's something that like I absolutely need and helps keep me kind of grounded. But I've been, just a little bit more mindful, listening to some more podcasts, things that are a little bit more motivational and helping me especially manifest some goals for this year. So I'm taking a lot of that. I'm trying to incorporate that daily if I can. And just taking time in the morning to take a few deep breaths and kind of just, review my day before jumping onto my phone and, getting into work right away. Just taking time to like go for a walk with my dog, have some coffee, like just really take in the little things. Light a candle. It sounds so silly, but we have a fireplace. So we put on our table, we can do the fireplace screen on the TV.
Yes.
And it's the most relaxing thing. But like I set up my morning to have a little bit of that. So even if I do start getting into work, before heading to the gym, it's like just the coziest feeling. So little things like that, I think, that counts as self-care. So it's super, super important to just create those environments for yourself, those safe spaces. And like Patti said, there's so many different resources on YouTube. I totally agree with that, for meditations, right? Different frequencies to help you, different fitness videos. There's so many free resources. So you do not have to go and spend a ton of money.
Well, you've now tripped a wire for me, by the way. Meaning, let's come back to the fireplace because, and I think you probably get this online as well. So a friend of mine was visiting us during the holidays, and she started laughing because my husband, when he gets up and once he gets Declan off to school, he relaxes. He puts a fireplace on or a campfire, and he reads in the morning. He reads, and so because I am I don't know how to describe myself as far as I don't know if it's OCD about fire, because I was a Girl Scout and I'm very particular about fire safety and fire, the construction of it, how it's built, where it is, and things like that. So my friend was laughing because Steve will be like, "What do you think of this one? What do you think of the, like?" He was going through and showing her my favorite ones, and I would explain like what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and she was like, "I would watch a YouTube video of you two talking about the different fires."
That's awesome.
So do you have? So now, is it usually a fireplace? Is it a campfire? What's your go-to on your? So for folks, you can get it on YouTube. You can just put a campfire and just put it on your TV or computer screen and have a fire if that's your jam. But are you a traditional old fireplace? Are you a campfire girl? What are you?
So the one on, because we haven't really explored on the YouTube ones as much, although we did find there's some different scenes, but we have Xfinity cable. We are the people that still do have cable. So I just talk into my TV and say fireplace, and it comes up with just like a traditional, like it's just a crackling fire. Like it's kind of zoomed into the fire with the flames, the logs upright, and the crackle is what I absolutely love. So it just feels so real, and it's just the light and the warmth. So it's just something that really puts us at ease. Like, it's just so comforting. So, doing little things like that, I think it really helps elevate your mood a little bit more and just helps relax you.
Folks, I know this sounds silly. And maybe we're just the two, peas in a pod and the rest of the world is doing something else. But also my husband's in that pod, so it got crowded. But there's you could even, there's one, if I just go to YouTube and I just do campfire, I think right now there's one that's right by the lake. I love this. So you have a beautiful sky, you've got a sunset, you've got the pine trees on the edge, and this is a well-constructed, I would say, an A-frame fire that then became a TP fire. See, this is where, do you see where I get a little bit crazy?
I love it. I love it.
And it's right near the water.
You can nerd out on that. Like, that's amazing, why not?
Exactly. I love this. I love talking to you, Jen. What for folks who want to follow you and learn, because I know that you also put some of your instructional videos for jiu-jitsu moves. I think I see one with a Turkish get-up with an arm bar. Is this?
That's a Turkish get-up suite from X-Guard.
X-Guard, sorry.
That's a fun one to watch, yes. People can find it. My YouTube channel is All Things Gen Z, Jenz, not Generation Z. I always have to say that. And you can also follow me on my Instagram at All Things Gen Z to get some shorter little blips of the video, and the longer forms are on YouTube. So.
Excellent. Jen, it's always great to catch up with you, and I will catch up with you next Monday as well. And by the way, if Jay feels comfortable, maybe we talk to him about his Substack if you're willing to share him and promote that. Folks, it's Jay Ferrari on Substack, and he has his latest one apparently is Screw the Super Bowl, and I think a lot of folks can identify with that. And he also wrote about the idea. So Zuckerberg is a jiu-jitsu guy, and apparently, when he talked so when he talked about masculinity and all that stuff, Jay also wrote about that, folks. So find Jay Ferrari on Substack, and find Jen Zanotti at jenzanotti.com, as well as on all things Gen Z on
you got it
on Instagram, on YouTube, all the places, and right here on WCPT on Monday nights at 6.
Yay! So good to chat.
Thank you, my friend.
I can't wait. We'll talk soon.
Are you coming back soon? Oh, never mind.
There's like all the stuff I was talking about manifesting, right? There's a lot of things in the works. So just the magic is happening.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
That's all I'll say.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
I love you.
Love you. Bye. My best of Jay. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation. If you want to call in, what's on your mind? I know I've been doing a lot of self-care and alternative practices to managing stress and anxiety for good reason. There's a lot of things to be stressed about. It's a lot too much already. Hi, everybody. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for driving it home with us. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. Hi to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We are broadcasting here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in Chicago. And, of course, you can listen to our shows on apps like TuneIn. You can also, I believe, now, can they, even though we don't have the video up, can they still listen to our show on YouTube and Facebook? Or is it just, it's no video, no audio there either? So we are continuing to work on that technical aspect of our live streams. You can find all of our shows wherever you listen to your podcasts, like on Spotify and Apple. And if you miss any of our interviews, they're available there. Actually, the best place to go, I would say, is heartlandsignal.com. And you can click on any of our shows to listen to when we're live, or to listen to our podcast or featured interviews as well. And coming up tomorrow on Joan's show from 2 to 5 p.m. Central for our friends in KTNF. I think that's when Matt McNeil's on. He's on here at 9 p.m. Everybody does a great show. Tomorrow from 2 to 5 p.m., Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Chris Lehman, who is a D.C. bureau chief for The Nation, The Atlantic's Adam Surer, Evanston Mayor Biss, and Heartland Signal's Rich Eberwine, with 3 stories you might have missed. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Central on WCPT 820. While I work during the day, I listen to WCPT in the background. I will say last week I really was on a information sort of shutdown. Like I would dip in and find out some of the stories and already go, that's already too much. No mas. And look, and it's not to, and I hope nobody felt like, I hope folks didn't feel like I was bailing. I'm pacing. I knew that I needed to do something. The holiday season was exhausting, and if you think about all the stuff we went through and just assess, all the things you have to process emotionally, physically over the last 6 months. I mean, I think about those weeks after that debate. I don't want to sink us back into all that, but I'm gearing up to not only be here for you 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, with occasional times off. I am leaving again on Wednesday. I had already planned a trip to Los Angeles to help out with the International Film Festival that Todd Belcourt and Social Change host every year in LA. Unfortunately, they're canceling, but the cost of canceling my whole trip was you lose money on that, and I'm staying there for free. So I figured, why not also continue to pace myself? So because I'm here, we're going to be here every day. Me, Joan, Richard, you've got all the hosts, from around the country. Tom Hartman, we've got Randy Rhodes, Stephanie Miller, of course, in the mornings, Matt McNeil at night. Our weekend hosts with Edwin Eisendrath and Hal Sparks, and Out Chicago with Scott Duff and Ellen Miller, and the great shows, all the great shows that we have that address the things that are most important to you. It's going to be a lot of work. In addition to doing this job, as far as work goes, I also work for the state of Illinois, and I will tell you that is also taking a toll in the sense that I have been researching what this is going to look like for the state of Illinois. And it's concerning whether it's social services or healthcare, the safety when it comes, our well-being when it comes to the CDC and the World Health Organization collaborating with other countries in the event that we have another pandemic. As we see, we are dealing with bird flu. So it's a lot of information, and I having the opportunity to sort of remove myself briefly once in a while is going to be necessary, because I'm also still doing stand-up comedy and writing the book. And most importantly, on top of that, the most important thing is my family, and making sure that Steve is supported, my mother feels safe, that my boys have everything that they need. So I just wanted to thank you, everybody, for being so supportive of the work that I and everyone here at WCPT. You have to understand that Lady B goes through everything that we go through. Our producers are here taking this in there, and they're hearing you on the phone, your concerns, your fears, learning about what happened last week when the raid started, all that fear we had with the Wall Street Journal story that they were going to start in Chicago. And I know that the story ended up being inaccurately reported when the agents, when law enforcement, here was the thing, law enforcement went to Hamline School. And because we have the internet and people learning these stories quickly, the story was that ICE was raiding a school, and that's terrifying. And we know over the weekend that they are going, friggin' fracking. Dr. Phil was live broadcasting raids and rounding people up. And it's going to get very hard. It is very hard. And the thing is, it compounds story after story. Now, while that story at Hamline School was inaccurate in regards to ICE, none of us know. So they sent Secret Service to a school. Secret Service was following up on a video that a 12-year-old boy had posted, or a 12-year-old child. I actually don't even know. We don't know more than that, nor should we. Like Dr. Bassell mentioned earlier, the fact that they showed up at a school, you're telling me that that's where you needed to go because of a video at that moment to scare the administration, to scare the students. Family was showing up. What's already in it. So the thing is, the pain, the fear is the point. They want us to be afraid. Not just the administration. The neo-Nazis, the Klan, all the folks that are salivating and cheering this is exactly what they wanted. And so reacting to every single thing, and also identifying that this is not okay. That the Nazi salute is not okay. Wherever it happens, you can doctor or just take a snapshot of anything. We saw the video. Do not gaslight us. We are not here for that. Anyway, so now you know why I have to pace myself, because this is going to be a lot. Phone lines are open. Text screen is on 773-763-9278. Be kind to Lady B. She'll be kind to you. If you're not, put them right on the air. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
We're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for hanging out with us. I just realized I could put a campfire in my studio. We can't hear the audio from it. Maybe I'll find a way to just run the audio from the crackle of the fire. I didn't realize how intense some of these videos on YouTube are. They have there's like a description of the step into the heart of autumn with a true campfire experience set in a misty forest that feels both cozy and mystical. That's just the beginning line of the description for the campfire in the woods. Maybe it might be somewhat of a Seattle background here. It looks like a very damp forestry area. How are you doing, my friend Paul? How are you doing in Seattle?
Hi, doing great.
It's all great.
You're looking at what?
A campfire. I'm looking at a campfire, but it's also got a lot of crackling noise. It's got a bubbling brook behind it, and but I can't hear all that. I can only see it, so I could tell you about it, and then you could listen to it while we could do this. We could watch this together, or have it on together.
I don't know if I can tell you where that is, though.
No, I just, I don't know where this is either. But it does look like there's tall pines. It looks very northwest woods. At any rate, how are you doing, Paul?
Well, that's true. That the sky out here is a lot higher than it is in the Midwest. That's one of the things that it is. You have to actually look up to see the sky because of all the trees. I mean, even in the city. I mean, there's not right downtown, but where I live out on the east side, there's a lot of trees. If you go down the road, you have to look up to see the sky. Whereas in the Midwest, the trees aren't as tall, and it's like the sky is bigger. It's the horizon is lower. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. So what's on your mind, my friend?
So this story about the Secret Service coming to the kids' school. So first thing I thought was, wait a minute, you're the Secret Service and you don't know where the hell the kid lives?
Right?
I mean, it's a posting on the internet. You got the ISP address. The Secret Service can track that down. How do they know what school he goes to?
Right, they got that. They got all the information. Oh, here, Secret Service sheds light on what happened at Chicago school. They've released some information. They said that in actuality, the Secret Service had sent agents to investigate a threat against a government official that the agency is protecting, with the threat stemming from the back and forth over whether a controversial TikTok ban would go into effect. Oh my God, you're right. This is okay. So they had to wait till he was at school. I mean, you're right. This is the way they wanted to do it. Again, I think it is.
Well, so what does that tell you? If it's only about him, and you know it's a kid, obviously, because if you know where his school is, you know he's an 11-year-old. So you go to the house and you talk to the parents.
Right.
But so the only possible explanation is they went to the school intentionally to terrorize everybody.
And cause confusion, and to make it seem like people, no, we didn't send ICE to that school. We just sent the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, okay. So the statement clarified that the documentation was the Department of Homeland Security, which does oversee ICE. And you think that people who are working at these schools, like in their minds, they're going to think, oh, well, it's not ICE, it's the Department of Homeland Security. Maybe it's not what we. Of course, it's all terrifying.
Well, I mean, the fact remains that they had to have tracked it down through an ISP address if it was something that was posted online, right? And then they can find out where that computer is, where it came from, and then. But if they know this kid, they can certainly find out where he lives. I mean, you don't go to the school and say, line up all the 11-year-olds. Let me see. Put them in a lineup here. This is just over the top, trying to terrorize America. This is what Donald Trump and the MAGAs want to do. They want to terrorize America. They think that, and this is what it's all is, owning the libs. This is what all they want to do. They don't care about anything else, and this is pretty much what they're all about. The whole MAGAs, everybody voted for Trump, is about owning the libs. They don't really care about any policies.
No,
they just want to own the other side, and that to them, they're winning every day when they're harassing people. That's what winning is.
Exactly.
So, I maybe you've heard me say this, but the executive order about nullifying the so-called birthright citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, and I say so-called because birthright citizenship really isn't a thing. That's what we refer to the first sentence of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, which says all persons born or naturalized in the United States, and within the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. Okay, to say, you see, there's nothing in the Constitution that says birthright citizenship. So you can't say we're abolishing it or nullifying it because it's not really a thing. In other words, if you told somebody that clause is struck, you wouldn't know what it is. It's kind of like saying we're going to abolish the Electoral College. Well, the Electoral College isn't really a thing. It's what we refer to as the process by which, in Article 2, how the president is elected. But there is no electoral college that you can go to, or that it's not defined. It's just what we refer to it as. But nonetheless, you see, the birthright citizenship clause is, and I've tried this on a number of people who have been going, this doesn't just apply to undocumented immigrants. It's what makes everybody a citizen.
Right.
And I've tried this, and I've had people who want to argue with me, and I ask them, are you a citizen? They say, yeah. I say, well, what makes you a citizen? I was born here. And I'm like, there you go, right there. You can stop right there. That's right. It. Not and I have a birth certificate and my parents are from here, because none of that's in the Constitution. You're a citizen because you were born here. So if we nullify that clause, here's the dangerous part. First of all, I wonder if somehow somebody on the Supreme Court has tipped this or telegraphed this to the Trump administration, that if you make this jurisdictional argument that undocumented people are not within the jurisdiction of the United States. By the way, I've tried that. I've done this with them too, and I've said to somebody said, no, they're not within the jurisdiction. I said, if you're undocumented and you're in the United States, can you be arrested? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're within jurisdiction, right? If you weren't in the jurisdiction of the United States, they could arrest you. So that doesn't make any sense. But I'm thinking that somebody on the court has telegraphed to the Trump administration through some unethical communication that if you make this argument, we might be willing to entertain it. But the problem is this. If you nullify the whole, because it applies to all of us, what makes us all citizens. It doesn't matter whether your parents were citizens or whatever, or that you have a birth certificate. Those are all evidence to the fact that you may be a citizen, but they're not the fact itself. The fact is, if you were born here, you're a citizen. But look what they could do. They could nullify that clause and say birthright citizenship doesn't exist anymore. So then you're starting over. Well, what does define a citizen? And then they'll start defining it in ways that may be certain beliefs and association with certain political parties or certain political ideas. And then you're going down, or that you were originally a citizen of this country, and then you could find a way that to make it so that lots of people aren't citizens.
Right.
I have no idea I have no doubt that that's what they would want to do, to somehow disenfranchise not only, undocumented. You don't need. There's no reason to disenfranchise undocumented immigrants. But if you're born here, you're not undocumented. You were just born. The documentation is most likely you were born in the hospital, and there's the documentation. You're not undocumented. So that's kind of, it has nothing to do. And I had a right winger out here. He just was disgusting. I won't even say his name, but he said this has been misconstrued ever since. It wasn't intended for people to be able to come here and drop anchor babies. I mean that term is just offensive. Mm-hmm. But you look at it this way: they want to say that a fetus is a person, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay, well then, I said, well, if that's the way you feel. You don't like anchor babies? How do you feel about anchor fetuses? You just walk in and you're a person, therefore aren't you a citizen then? I mean, what makes you a citizen? And before the 14th Amendment, frankly, there is nothing in the Constitution that is a standard that defines citizenship. The word citizen is used when it refers to being a representative in Congress, a senator, or the president. You have to be a citizen and a citizen of 7 years to be a representative citizen for, 10 years, 14 years to be president. But it doesn't say how you get to be a citizen.
No.
And that's because it was originally the states decided who was the citizen.
There you go.
There's no federal standard. There was no constitutional standard, and I defy anybody to find out what it was.
Well, that's the thing. I know that in the arguments of Roe v. Wade, right, and because they didn't, right, the argument was it based on person or the whether or not a fetus has rights? I mean, and ultimately,
no,
right. I mean, it was part of the argument.
it was based on
privacy.
It was based on privacy. It was the right to privacy, and it was Griswold versus Connecticut. That was the right to privacy to use contraceptives. So there was an inherent right to privacy, certainly of your own body. But I wrote an article on this a couple of years ago when the Dobbs decision came out that, okay, if you want to call a fetus a person, they don't have any rights because under the 14th Amendment, you have to be born.
There it is. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it says, and not only that, in Article 4, Section 2, to enjoy the rights of citizens of the several states, you have to be born. And they're not trying to act like being born doesn't matter. It matters when they want it, and it doesn't matter when they don't want it. But in order to have rights, you have to be born. So you could be a person, and I also made the argument, well, then if a fetus is a person, whether they're citizens or not, and whether they have rights, the Constitution, Article 1 says we have to count them.
Right.
So if you're going to call them a person, you got to count every pregnant woman. A pregnant woman can say, I'm two people.
Mm-hmm.
That actually would be good for Democrats because obviously most pregnancies, the majority of pregnancies are in urban areas, and those are typically Democratic.
There's so many levels, so many different ways to go with personhood, and even like with the executive orders he issued last week that everyone is the gender they were at conception, which then would mean that none of us have a gender or they're all female, I believe, is first.
Right. The gender at conception is... Yeah, well, that's true. We all start out as females, but regardless of what our chromosomal, and the other thing is, chromosomes are not just like puzzle pieces. Chromosomes do things. So when you have, and I had I was debating a guy who was he had a PhD in biological science from University of Washington, and he said, and I have a degree in bioscience, and he said, well, he said. I said something that was somewhat inaccurate about the Y chromosome. He goes, well, you should know if you have a bioscience degree that the Y chromosome codes for all of these a cascade of enzymes that do all kinds of things. And then I said to him, oh, well, excuse me, I guess I was mistaken, but a cascade of chromosomes is bound to have wide variance genetically. And that's what the chromosomes do, is code for how much hormone you have. And everybody has different levels of hormones. And certainly women are probably more aware of that than men. But if you have a different level of hormone in your system, regardless of what your chromosomal makeup is, that's going to affect you differently.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Wow. Thank you for this conversation. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah,
they don't want to get that complicated about things, though.
No, they just want to say.
Yeah.
Well, that's why when Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was having her confirmation hearings, and Marsha, the woman, the senator from Tennessee, was saying, "Can you define a woman?"
Right. Blackburn.
Said, no, I can't. Can you? I would have said, yeah, Blackburn. I would say, no, I can't. Can you? and then if she did, I'd say, that's it. That's all. A woman's just that.
Right.
And that's it. Every time she would add something, I said, that's all? Women are just that's all you got, huh?
Yeah.
That's all that's right there. That's the sum total of what you just said. So, I mean, I think that would be, and she just said, no, I can't. And you can't define something. She kept saying, you can't define something so simple. It's like, well, then no, I can't. How about you? It's so simple. Let us know.
I will tell you, I was in one of the happiest places in New Orleans. I was at the Carousel Bar at the Hotel Monteleone. It's epic, right? It's one of the legendary spots. And we happened to get a seat, and this woman was next to us, and I could tell she was from the Midwest. She has had that, quality. And she was. It turns out she was from Wisconsin and from Door County. And I swear I didn't bring it up. She did. And she said that, usually Door County determines who the president is, but this time we were wrong. And man, I'm disappointed with that. And she went into this whole thing. And I went with, here's the thing. I started with, why I told her, I was very honest. I said, I volunteered for the Democrats in Wisconsin. And one of my driving things is protecting women's autonomy. She's like, well, I agree with that, but men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. And I wish to God all I had said was, oh, well, you're just dumb, and just stop talking to her. Like, I'm not going to argue anymore. You know, she's like, I have a line to draw in the sand. I'm like, or a penis on the body, and that made her stop talking to me. But there was a long argument before that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you know, that's so funny because maybe I've told you this before, but back in the 70s when I was playing with a traveling rock and roll band, and I had really long hair, and I played in some little bit shaky places in the Midwest, where if I would go in, and the guys would say in some of these hip places, say, you belong in the ladies' room, don't you? And I think, you know, call me the F word, you know, and telling me I was a little girl. And I was like, so I'm not sure. I guess then that because I had long hair, they wanted me to go into the ladies' room. And then I tell you, in some of these places, the women said, don't go in the men's room. They'll beat you up in there. And it said, just come on in here. And, like, we don't care, right?
Yeah.
And there was a few places where I went, okay. Some of them say, there's somebody in here. Or, look, we have stalls. We don't care about tinkling in the water, you know. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, but they would say that. They would, don't go in the men's room. They'll beat you up. And I could tell. I would tell places like that where it's like, yeah, I can tell in this place they probably would. Because you get all kinds of, I had a guy come up and punch me in the face one time just out of the blue.
Yep.
Give me a bloody nose, yeah.
Again, dumb, and I'm sorry that happened to you. Yep.
Yeah, well, just because I had long hair.
Yep.
And it's like, well, and then he just walked away.
People are gross.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you, Paul. Paul in Seattle. We'll talk to you again very soon. Folks missing you on Sunday night, so it's great to hear from you. Thank you. Let's take a break here. Thank you. We'll take our last call when we come back on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul.
The Randy Rhodes Show.
Oh, congratulations to the Fox and Friends weekend morning host, who's now our Secretary of Defense. He's a veteran, everybody. I know, I'm a veteran, too. I'm pretty sure I wasn't on any of Kamala's short list for any cabinet position. But, oh, my God, these pits, it's almost like, well, there's a word for it. It's called patronage. Right here, right now on WCPT 820, weekdays 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
That was such a cool promo. Thank you, everybody, who on that, and Andy doing the editing. I think I just recorded, like, he just got me right before the show. That was super fast turnaround. Awesome. So, yeah, celebrating 20 years here at WCPT. I think we're moving into our fourth year, as Dave from Hoffman Estates reminds us, with congratulations. Let me get to our last phone call of the show. We've got Al in Franklin Park. Hey, Al. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good tonight, Patty.
Okay.
I hope you had a good trip down to New Orleans.
I sure did.
And you mentioned that when you were down there, you heard the bad news that they wanted to take the Tuskegee Airmen out of the books and the women out of the books, and there was an immediate pushback on that already, and I think that's already been turned around, and that's good. There was an online pushback on that, and I got to verify that, but I did hear that on the radio, and it was somebody that was working on the websites or whatever, decided to get ahead of it and do what Trump would like, but it didn't work. And so I hope that's the case. And then
CBS News and USA Today, several other outlets, Texas Public Radio, all reporting that the teaching has resumed.
Yeah, so that's a win. We got to talk about the win.
Yep.
And then when we talk about the birthright citizenship, we have a lot of lawyers working on that right now, and they came right out and put lawsuits against that, and we have to, be talking about who those lawyers are and how we message, and project what we want to happen there as a community. So, and I think the more we do that, the better chances we have of winning in that case.
Absolutely.
And what we can do right now. So that was my 2 points when I was listening to you guys right now that came up.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for updating that information for me about both the Tuskegee Airmen and the WASPs, the Women Air Service pilots. Yep. Yeah. Here, I'll tell you my little bit of history. So I was working on a project on this in grad school. And women flew ferry planes. They flew. They threw test not Tesla. They flew. They were test pilots, but they also ran target practice. They would drag basically a parachute, and there was ground artillery fired at them. In their service to the country, 19 women, at least 19 women died, and they were not given military burials or benefits until I believe President Carter did in the 80s or 70s, in the 70s. Yeah. So there's a lot there. That's just a little bit of the tip of the iceberg to the work that the WASPs did during World War II. Thank you, Al.
Yeah, we got to bring that stuff out, and we got to talk about it.
Exactly. You can count on me doing more of that. I should have been doing it before. Thanks, Al. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Bye. I want to thank our listeners who are texting in as well. Sarah sending me some really cute photos of some pups, and I believe that's a cat. That looks like a Siamese, a big fluffy Siamese. Thank you for those photos. I don't know if that's a puppy husky or like a mini husky, and a sweet golden retriever. Anyway, these are some of the photos I get to watch or look at while I'm talking to you guys. And Mark, thank you for your text, and I would love to come visit you in Door County. And she was it was an adventure sitting next to the woman from Door County. And thank you for the compliments on our WCPT history, our new audio that you can hear throughout the day. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. If I missed your text, I'll get it tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow evening. Bye, Lady B. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Good night.